What's going on, everybody? UnrealEntGaming here, back at it once again, joined by my friend Malik here today, my good friend Terry, and today we're going to be discussing our WrestleMania 31 predictions. In particular, for me, I do want to talk about the main event, and I do want to talk about, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, and the whole situation regarding the Royal Rumble and whatnot. So, Malik, you are a wrestling fan, you are a wrestler yourself, so I want to get your intake on the whole, pulling the trigger with Roman Reigns, and do you think like the guy is ready? Because I have nothing against the guy, but I just feel as if, don't you think that WWE has a vast, huge pool of talent, and I understand that they're going with being able to make it believable, and a guy with Roman Reigns' size going against Brock Lesnar seems believable rather than having Daniel Bryan, a short guy, going up against a massive man like Brock Lesnar. You have to have believability in your match. But I want to know your entire perception around Roman Reigns, and do you feel as if like it was the right time to go? And I want to know like your overall thoughts on the Triple H podcast that happened with Stone Cold, if you saw it or not. And
Yeah.
I want to get like your full take on the WrestleMania 31 main event. And do you think it'll be as fulfilling as WWE says it is?
Well, first of all, even before Roman Reigns came back from his hernia injury, I was calling that they were probably going to start pushing Roman Reigns for the main event at WrestleMania. Now, my reasoning behind that is because despite the WWE having a big pool of talent right now, if you really look at it, their main event talent roster has been severely depleted. They are running on a skeleton crew in terms of the main event. Because I mean, let's look at the full time guys that you can really consider in the main event right now. You've got John Cena, who they're trying to kind of not exactly take him out of the main event picture, but they're trying to make him, they're trying to fade him back into a little bit of the upper mid card area because I think the WWE really fears fan backlash if he ties Ric Flair's record. So they're trying to be smart with John Cena by putting him up against people that he is perceived to be able to beat, but just can't do it. But they can't keep having him lose, or else he's going to lose his credibility. What he has. Okay, so let's start fading John Cena out of the picture. We've got Daniel Bryan, who just returned pretty much from a 9-month injury. Okay, so we've got Daniel Bryan. We just moved Seth Rollins up into the main event roster. Uh, okay, so right now, for all main event purposes, we have Daniel Bryan, we have Seth Rollins. Now let's look at the other people. We've got Randy Orton, who's out and injured and could be coming back anytime, but we have no idea what they want to do with him right now. Then we've got Brock Lesnar. He's a part-timer. He's only going to appear sporadically, so there's one guy that we've knocked off. So right now we only have 3 people, and one of them is kind of tentative because he isn't even back yet. Undertaker, he's pretty much gone. He only comes back once a year. Triple H, pretty much gone. He only wrestles every once in a while. Batista, he's pretty much gone. The entire main event roster has been depleted down to about 4 guys. And so, do I think that it was wise for them to try and push Roman Reigns to try and build him up into a main event stature player? Yes. Are they doing it a little bit quicker than we would like them to? Definitely. And like, as far as like the Royal Rumble, I think almost everybody knew going in that Roman Reigns was going to go over in the Royal Rumble.
Oh, absolutely.
I think they made 2. For one, the Royal Rumble itself, I'm not disappointed with the outcome of the match because I called it. I've been calling it since October. What I was disappointed in was how the match itself was booked. The match was booked, especially in the second half, very, very weakly. Um, I feel Bubba Ray Dudley should have come out later in the match. I think him and Titus O'Neil, I think they should have switched places. Um, and like I said, the finish of that Royal Rumble match was booked very, very poorly. They
Oh yeah,
made
it definitely was. But I
Big
mean,
Show
but
and Kane
it's to
totally
build.
buried him.
But it's to build Roman Reigns' stature
But
as a
that's the
physical
thing.
specimen. Like that I understand, because like it's like, all
Yeah,
right, big
if
guy
you want to
eliminating 2
build
other
him
big guys.
up, then he should have looked strong. But Kane and Big Show buried him in the finish. they made him look like a puss. Now, one thing that I've always stated about the Royal Rumbles, because like you said, I've been a wrestler and I've also been a booker. I've booked matches and stuff. So when it comes to battle royals, and especially something like the Royal Rumble, in my personal opinion, the final five always needs to leave doubt in the viewer's mind as to who can win the Rumble. When it came down to the final five of this year's Rumble, you knew Reigns was going over. I personally think that they really should have kept their options open with the final five. I think it should have been Big Show or Rusev, then Daniel Bryan, Dean Ambrose, Dolph Ziggler, and Roman Reigns. The four baby faces can work together to either get Rusev or Big Show, whoever it could have been, out of the ring. So then you're down to your final four, and it's all the four main baby faces that we're trying to push right now. We've got Daniel Bryan, who's our only consistent main event player right now, and then three guys who are trying to come up into the main event roster: Dean Ambrose, Dolph Ziggler, Roman Reigns. With all four of those guys in the ring at the same time, now we have doubt because now we don't know who WWE wants to push to be the new main event guy. Who are we going to send to WrestleMania? So, that would give it some leeway, and I think the finish would have went over a little bit better. Were people still going to be pissed that Roman Reigns went over? Most definitely, but I think they really could have decreased some of the backlash if they had kept Bryan in there all the way to the end.
Speaking of main event guys, what about Dean Ambrose and Bray Wyatt? Like, don't you think that those guys would be able to fit that description as well?
Well, that's the thing. Bray Wyatt, they booked him brilliantly for the Royal Rumble. Sure, his elimination sucked. The way he was eliminated was bullshit. Because this whole Kane Big Show just casually picking off people, it was horrible. But they booked him brilliantly. They made him look strong. They made him look like a threat. When he said that this is Bray Wyatt's year, just because he's not going to the main event of WrestleMania, this is going to be Bray Wyatt's year. And this was my whole argument for why Roman Reigns was the smart choice for winning the Rumble. And this goes back to what you were saying earlier. Okay, the WWE wants to have a perceivable threat to Brock Lesnar. Now, if you're looking at the guys that are on the roster, you and me talked about this. The only two people that really, I think, could physically challenge Brock Lesnar are Roman Reigns and Cesaro. Those are the only two guys, pound for pound, that I think have the physicality to keep up with Lesnar.
I would agree with Cesaro. I would not agree with Roman Reigns, man.
Well, again, we're going. I'm going based not on personal preference. I'm just going based on the character as they are perceived.
Oh yeah, all right, the character, yes, but
all right.
If you're thinking realistically here, I don't think realistically there's nobody on that roster that can compete with.
Oh no. Well, realistically, if Brock Lesnar wanted to annihilate the entire roster, he could.
He could.
Brock Lesnar could come out could have come out in the Royal Rumble this year and killed everybody. I mean, he annihilated Seth Rollins and John Cena, which, by the way, that triple threat match was freaking amazing.
It was.
Brock
And a lot
Lesnar
of people want to
like
doubt,
beast.
A lot of people want to doubt the ability of both John Cena and Seth Rollins because I've seen a lot of people talk about Seth Rollins like as a skinny, flip flop, spot monkey, and people obviously refer to John Cena as being, John Cena. But that match right there was just like the way they booked Brock Lesnar was just amazing because like
they did a really good job. It
was really rare going into a triple threat match and watching one guy overcome the other two.
Right.
That's just brilliant. But
yeah, usually when you're looking at triple threat matches, it's one guy kind of being opportunistic and managing to get the pin, not just one guy coming in. He's so pissed off that he just kills the other two guys.
And the other thing I wanted to mention was the fact that somebody noted that the way Kane and Big Show operated, they pretty much eliminated the IWC favorites, Dean Ambrose, Bray Wyatt.
Indeed, they did. Yeah.
In the most, I would say,
they threw them out like
ways.
mid-carders. They threw them out like opening and mid-card people. They were eliminated in ways that they did not deserve.
But here's
those
the thing,
guys are tremendous talents, and they deserved to have better eliminations than Big Show punching them and then Kane and him hoisting them over the top rope like they were fucking sacks of garbage. It was horrible the way they eliminated him. But back to my earlier point about Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt is going to be amazing this year. And the whole reason for this, this was my reasoning behind why I think Roman Reigns is supposed to win. Okay, so the way that Roman Reigns is booked, he's booked as a fast powerhouse. That's the way they've
But he
been
doesn't
booking
do any
him since
power
he was the
moves.
Shield, huh?
But he doesn't do any power moves. If you're a power guy, you would be described as doing power moves. Like doing one Samoa drop doesn't necessarily mean that you're a power guy.
But it's not so much his like the power game, like how Brock Lesnar portrays the power game, where he does power bombs and he does those gigantic suplexes and stuff. Um, Roman Reigns displays his power through explosiveness when he explodes with that spear. Granted, I think the Superman punch is kind of lame, but it's supposed when he hits it out of nowhere, when he doesn't do the setup, when it just comes out of nowhere, it looks pretty explosive. His clotheslines and shit, they're really impactful. They're powerful. So that's where he gets his power, is his explosiveness, not so much, oh well, I'm a big huge power guy, so I'm gonna power bomb you, or I'm gonna body slam you, or I'm gonna do a German suplex that slings you halfway across the ring. You know, his power comes from his explosiveness. And I really think that Brock Lesnar, who is explosive in his own right, but is more of your traditional power player. He does high impact slam moves and stuff like that. Up against a quicker powerhouse like Roman Reigns, I really think that that kind of formula could work together. But my whole argument for Reigns going over at WrestleMania is because Reigns, even though they want to book him to be like, they want him to be their next top babyface. They want him to they want John Cena to kind of sort of like pass the torch on to him. I don't know if he's got that kind of quality. Maybe in about 2 or 3 years, maybe he'll have that kind of quality. But right now, he's definitely not primed to be the top babyface.
I don't think he's ready at all, man. I mean, and for me personally, I was expecting to see a couple of NXT guys in the Rumble too.
I was actually disappointed that they didn't do any NXT
Yeah,
guys.
and NXT, man, like I swear to God, that is the purest form of awesomeness that I've seen from WWE in a long time
Right,
because you have all of these indie guys were once indie guys now being able to solidify and just pretty much showcase their
right,
craft, characteristic wise and moveset wise. I mean, I think Sami Zayn and Adrian Neville are them those two themselves would be able to outshine, I think, most of the Raw and SmackDown roster.
right.
Um, like you put them in a situation where I feel like I going back to what you said about Roman Reigns, I feel as if that kind of a main event caliber, status could be replaced and be overtaken by somebody like Sami Zayn. I can
Right.
definitely see somebody like Sami Zayn headlining a WrestleMania, especially with his character and his emotion. Same thing with Kevin Steen or Kevin Owens. Can you imagine putting Kevin Owens in a situation where he's able to main event WrestleMania, being either babyface or heel?
Well,
He would
that's
be able to tell a perfect story because he has great mic skills
right.
and his overall in-ring performance would just be phenomenal. So
Yeah.
I can
Now,
see.
but you got to look at it this way, dude. You know, the NXT, and this is why I don't know why more people don't watch NXT, because the people in NXT, they're usually only there for about 2 years before they get bumped up to the main roster. NXT is Triple H's
Are
baby.
you sure about that? Because Sammy's been there for
Sammy's
years.
been there. He's going on his third year,
Yes,
but give it any amount of time before he's bumped up to the main roster.
I don't think it's gonna be this year.
Because I know that they're already priming Adrian Neville. They're already
Yeah,
priming
yeah.
Adrian Neville to move up to the main roster.
That I'm a little worried about, given the fact that his overall character design is gonna be like a Mighty Mouse character,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is gonna be a little. I don't
yeah,
know.
his
I don't know
his
what that.
his Dumbo ears really throw me off.
But
Um,
but when you watch this guy in the ring, do you really look at his ears or do
oh
you really
no,
look at
no.
like what he's
When
doing?
I watch Adrian Neville in the ring, I'm amazed. The guy is built like a brick shithouse, but I mean, he flies. He's one of the best high flyers that I've ever seen.
In the world. I mean, I think his
Right,
best match for me was with Ricochet and it was Ricochet versus Pac in Dragon Gate.
right.
And let me tell you something, if you watch that match, you'll never be the same again.
But
And that's
again,
how
but even his match with Sami Zayn at our Evolution, that
absolutely
world title match, oh my god, dude, they
that's what
tore
I'm
the
trying to
fucking
say. It's
house
like
down in that match.
that's what I'm trying to say. Like I feel, and Triple H was right when he talked about the things that he talked about on Stone Cold's podcast when he referenced like they're trying to solidify and build main eventers, but at the same time it's like whatever happened to Cesaro, whatever happened to Dolph Ziggler. I feel as
Well,
if yes they do look at talents, yes that's
right.
unquestionable, but I also feel as if they look at you from a certain perspective of looks. It's like, all right, does this guy have the look to be on ESPN? Good Morning America. I mean, I can't really see Daniel Bryan doing that, because like obviously his look, he looks like a goat face, he's short, like that kind of thing.
But this is the other thing, and I think this is something that gets lost in translation. And Triple H even brought it up in the podcast. Uh, the WWE, the main roster, Vince has all the final say on the main roster. Triple H has all the say on NXT. He
Mhm.
works with the talent. If you compare the two podcasts, Vince McMahon and Triple H, Vince McMahon came off as really out of touch in the podcast, but
Absolutely.
a lot of people have a newfound respect for Triple H after that podcast because of the way he talked about like NXT and shit and all those guys that he brought in. I mean, look at all the people that all of a sudden he just influxed. He grabbed Kevin Steen. He grabbed El Generico. He grabbed Fergal DeVitt. He grabbed what's his name, the Japanese guy, Hideo Itami.
Oh, Kenta.
Yeah, Kenta. He grabbed all those guys who are huge names on the indie format, and brought them to a broader stage and a bigger place to. But the other thing is that like a lot of guys worry, like a lot of the IWC, they were like, oh well, the WWE grabbed these guys up, they're just gonna destroy them. Besides like Sami Zayn, who is no longer the El Generico character, what did he really change? All they got was a name change. Fergal DeVitt is still,
Prince
what's his
Devitt,
name?
yep.
Finn Balor is still Fergal DeVitt. Hideo Itami is still Kenta. Kevin Owens is still Kevin Steen. It's still those guys, and everybody's gravitating to them. Those guys are going to be huge this year.
No, absolutely. Well, in terms of when you say this year, I don't think necessarily it's going to be this year because the way they're building up NXT, Triple H was right. I feel as if NXT is going to be a competitor against Raw and SmackDown, and
Yeah, they unintentionally created another brand, and
exactly, and
from
and
what
they
I
and they need
heard,
and they need the talent
NXT's
pool.
ratings in terms of like the WWE network viewership are freaking through the roof. And I think it really says something when Triple H says, "My goal this year is to get NXT out on the road."
Absolutely, and I totally agree. Give the guys more exposure, give them more experience. But
I mean,
going
come
back
on.
to
Let me ask you, if you had the opportunity, WWE Raw is going to be in your town, but at the very same time, NXT is going to be in a smaller venue on the same day. Which one are you going to buy your tickets for?
NXT.
Exactly. I've passed by the last 6 WWE events that have come to Cleveland, but I swear to God, if I find out that NXT is going to be at the Wolstein Center, you better believe your ass I'm going to be there.
But going back to what we talked about Brock Lesnar, it's like again, even the NXT guys, I feel as if wouldn't
Right.
look believable going into a match with this guy, which goes back to me saying that Brock Lesnar realistically would destroy every
Right.
single person. And yeah, Roman Reigns, from a physical standpoint, he looks as if he's able
He
to do
looks
that,
as
Brock
though he
Lesnar.
can challenge him, and
But
that's the thing.
also like yeah, like having to look at something and having to see something firsthand are two very different things. Now
Exactly.
having looking at Roman Reigns going into this match with Brock Lesnar, yeah, it'll look explosive, but would it match up to seeing somebody like Adrian Neville versus Brock Lesnar? Yeah, I mean Brock would be able to throw this guy around like nothing, but Adrian Neville is like a cat. It's like you throw this guy fucking through the roof, he'll come back down like on all fours, So like different people would have different
Exactly.
match experiences with this guy. So I feel like if you put Roman Reigns against Brock Lesnar, it wouldn't be as good as putting Cesaro against Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins against Brock Lesnar,
That we know
Kevin
of.
Owens against Brock Lesnar. I mean, you have to
Again,
build that
again,
story.
this is we're basing this off of what we knew about Roman Reigns before the push started
No,
happening,
no,
before the
even
Royal
before that,
Rumble.
don't you think Roman Reigns was much more of a quote unquote like badass when he didn't talk?
Well,
Because
that's the thing. Well, haven't you been noticing his promos? He's not talking as much. The, when Roman Reigns doesn't say a lot and he just gets straight to the point with his promos, he comes across as that cool, confident badass that everybody liked. And I think that's one reason why people are already starting to jump off the hate on Roman Reigns bandwagon. He's getting cheered a lot more at the live events because he's not coming out and doing what Vince McMahon told him and saying suffer and succotash and quoting fucking cartoons and shit.
Right.
When they try to make him that, that white meat baby face, he'll be dead in the water. And we already caught that. When they make him into a white meat baby face like they do with John Cena, everybody's going to hate him. But when he comes across as that anti-hero badass baby face like they're starting to do with him now, when he's like, screw it, I'll fight you, let's do it. When he's doing that and he says, I don't care who I face because I'm still going to the main event, that's the Roman Reigns that we want to see. That's
Right.
him cutting his promos, not quoting Sylvester, but here's my thing. Let's look at it at a pure like physical like looks standpoint, all right? You've got Brock Lesnar and you've got Roman Reigns, okay? If you compare Brock Lesnar to anybody on the WWE roster, he's physically a powerhouse. He can beat anybody in a physical game. He's the strongest looking guy on the entire roster. He's a great submission style wrestler when he wants to be. His Kimura lock, all of his submissions look like he's trying to kill you.
Yep.
Okay, so if you compare Brock Lesnar to everybody on the WWE roster, nobody holds a candle to him. But now let's look at the other hand. It's already pretty much a given that if Roman Reigns goes to WrestleMania, he's going over against Brock Lesnar. And my whole reason for that I'll get to in a minute, which is my point right here. Roman Reigns, he's big. He looks good. But if you compare him against everybody else, yeah, he's big, but he's beatable.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. Brock Lesnar, they've booked him to be an unstoppable monster. Roman Reigns can be a monster when he wants to, but
But
an
he's beatable.
ordinary man can beat him.
Even Big Show beat him on SmackDown.
Exactly, and
What does
that's
that
the
say?
point. That's the whole point. Roman Reigns looks like he can kill anybody, but a normal man can take him down. Nobody can take down the dragon that is Brock Lesnar in a realistic straight-up match. But because they're worried about Brock Lesnar leaving after WrestleMania, they have to find somebody who can kind of pick up
that we don't know yet. That we don't. I
we
mean,
don't know yet. But
like,
all
haven't you
the
noticed
hands are
that Brock?
pointing that
Haven't you
he's
noticed
going to
that
leave.
Brock actually dropped a little bit of weight? He's cutting weight a lot.
Yeah, and
Which
that's probably because he's going back. A lot of people are saying he's going to go back to UFC.
well, what do you think?
Mm,
I mean, he's cutting a lot. He dropped a lot of weight. I mean, he doesn't look. I mean, he's still physically massive, but looking back on him, from like SummerSlam or even WrestleMania,
right.
he was fucking massive. Like the dude
Yeah.
must have been at least 300.
Yeah.
But now he.
He looks like he did when he started fighting in UFC. He's starting to cut back. He looks a lot leaner and everything. He's trying to increase his speed, which is what he needs for UFC.
Oh, of course. I mean, his last fight was with what, Overeem, and Overeem kicked him once in the stomach, and that was it.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
he's
So he's
going.
cutting back that weight because he needs speed. Because all hands, they're talking with Brock Lesnar, but all the signs are pointing that he's out when his contract is up the day after WrestleMania.
Now you said something about Dragon. Now, all right, now Brock Lesnar is a shooter. He's a legitimate shooter.
Right.
Roman Reigns is not. Now, what about having the Dragon, Daniel Bryan, against Brock Lesnar? Like overall, like yeah, like realistically, when you look at it, it's like no way, fucking he died.
Well,
But
there is an interesting story. That a particular match with Daniel Bryan and Brock Lesnar could tell the interesting story. Like Daniel Bryan said, Daniel Bryan is the ultimate David, and Brock Lesnar is the ultimate Goliath. So you kind of have that underdog kind of thing. But the problem with that is the same thing that happened with John Cena. How many times can you book a guy to be an underdog and he beats the odds?
now he
You can
doesn't
only be an
necessarily has to beat
underdog
Lesnar.
if you're losing. If you lose more frequently than you win. And that was the issue with John Cena. They constantly book him as an underdog, but he overcomes the odds every fucking time, and everyone got sick of it.
But who says that? Who says that Daniel Bryan has to win though? What
But
what if
that's the
Brock
thing.
Lesnar does beat him? But wait a minute. Like
If
my thing was, what if they? All right, for example, what if they did make Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar, and the match goes on. Brock Lesnar beats him by a hair, supposedly. And then at the very end, rather than having, I mean, given the fact that, yes, Brock Lesnar would be on his way out, why not have Seth Rollins right then and there, given the opportunity? Brock Lesnar's out cold. Seth Rollins comes in, cashes in against Lesnar at WrestleMania. Seth Rollins is here, your new champion. And now, since Lesnar's on his way out, you have Daniel Bryan versus Seth Rollins as a feud going on, for months for the world title. But then also throwing in Roman Reigns in the mix if the given, for example, like let's say for example, Daniel Bryan beats Roman Reigns at Fastlane and he becomes number one contender. Roman Reigns can be like, well, I never lost. I still have like my Royal Rumble thing. They can actually build that from there because the three did have a very significant segment these last couple of weeks, and I can definitely see those three being a cornerstone, segment for the years to come. Like for example, the entire year, having Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns for the title, Seth Rollins versus Daniel Bryan for the title. But that's only if Brock leaves. Now, what if Brock doesn't leave? Now what?
Well, all of my theory is based specifically on Brock Lesnar leaving because, like I said, it's looking like a greater possibility that he's hoofing it after WrestleMania. If he doesn't, now let's say Brock Lesnar does not leave, then the only possibility they can have, and I think that's why they're kind of waiting to see what they want to do, and that's why Reigns is sort of playing a tweener right now. He's not exactly a face, but he's not exactly a heel. They're having him play a tweener role because they're waiting to see what Brock Lesnar's going to do. If Brock Lesnar stays, then Roman Reigns will probably go heel. He'll go heel to go over Daniel Bryan at Fastlane, which means they're setting up for Reigns to be the heel going into Mania and Brock Lesnar to be the babyface. So that's what's going to happen. Now, if Reigns goes in as the heel and Lesnar goes in as a babyface, then they have no problem with letting Reigns lose. But if Reigns goes into WrestleMania as a face, he has to go over. If he does not go over, it'll kill any momentum that they have worked these last 3 months to build up on him. If he loses, everything that they've worked for the last 3 months goes down the fucking toilet. So if they are going to send Reigns to Mania, he has to go over unless he's a heel.
Very interesting. I mean,
Now,
I
this is my thing, and I've made this comparison a bunch of times. If we had Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar, yes, Daniel Bryan is certainly more talented than the person I'm about to mention, but the match wouldn't be too much different than Mike Awesome versus Spike Dudley from Anarchy Rules. They booked Mike Awesome to be very similar to Brock Lesnar at the time, and Spike Dudley, even though he's far less talented than Daniel Bryan, it was booked as ECW's ultimate underdog. But even he can't overcome a colossus like Mike Awesome. They had a good match. The match was very entertaining. But if you went into that match honestly thinking that Spike Dudley was going to be able to beat Mike Awesome, then you were a fucking moron. Because Mike Awesome was a freaking animal. And it's the same thing that I think with Brock Lesnar versus Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan could put on a hell of a performance. He'd be an awesome ring general. He'd be able to help Brock Lesnar kind of through that match. And they would set up, I have no doubt there would be some freaking amazing spots. But the end result would be the same. Daniel Bryan cannot realistically beat Brock Lesnar. Maybe he could have beaten the Brock Lesnar from 2002.
Oh, absolutely not. Are you kidding me?
But
I think the Brock Lesnar in 2002 was much more dangerous than he is now. Do you remember the things
maybe.
that man used to do back then?
Oh yeah, Brock Lesnar back then was a killing. I
Like
mean, but even now,
I
he's a killing
personally
machine.
I personally like the Brock Lesnar in 2002 more than this one because again, going back to talent, when Brock would get in the ring with you back in 2002, it wasn't just German knee to the stomach F5. It was more like power bomb, slingshot. He would fucking like do the fisherman suplex and F5s all over the place.
Right.
It was like gorilla hugs. It was just like what the hell. But now obviously he
But
has
that's
that
the
MMA
difference in
mentality.
the booking of his character. Back then, they tried to book him more as a traditional powerhouse.
Yeah.
Now they're trying to book him as more of the UFC guy who came to the WWE.
Oh yeah, and
So
there's nothing wrong with that.
he does stuff that you could see a UFC guy doing. The knees to the guts, the Kimura lock, German suplexes, stuff that a guy his size could realistically do to guys the other size without there being too much of a work going into it. Because you could see UFC guys doing German suplexes or snap suplexes, belly to belly suplexes, stuff like that, grappling style power moves. You really can't see him doing, body slams and shit like that. Granted, Brock Lesnar has body slams and shit like that in his repertoire, but the way he delivers those suplexes now, he doesn't really have to do a whole lot because him suplexing the shit out of people is so fucking over right now. It's ridiculous. I didn't think anybody but Taz, Chris Benoit, and Kurt Angle could get over suplexing somebody as many times as Brock Lesnar suplexes somebody. It's freaking amazing how he took a simple power move like a German suplex, and he's built it. He almost built his gimmick on German suplexes. It's freaking amazing.
That goes back to the shooting thing. Like
Right.
Brock Lesnar's a legit shooter, and you can see every time he does a German suplex, you can see
Oh yeah,
like
he throws them with no regard for their safety at all. He looks like
exactly,
he
and
wants to
that's what
break your
makes it so
neck.
fucking awesome. But
Yeah.
again, going into a match with Daniel Bryan, it would worry me as well because one German suplex, Daniel Bryan fucking
Right.
lands the wrong way, his
And
neck's
that's the
gone.
other thing. They need to be able to protect Daniel Bryan because he is going to be a top baby face for a while. If they put Daniel Bryan into a match against Brock Lesnar could be as careful as he wants to be, but it's going to take one wrong landing and Daniel Bryan's on the shelf again. So and Brock Lesnar is a stiff worker. They can't put him in there against that in all good conscience. They just can't do it.
Mm,
Now,
well, what
now
about
this is the
everybody
thing.
else? What about Seth Rollins or Bray Wyatt?
Now,
Like, do you think Bray Wyatt versus Brock Lesnar would be believable?
uh, well, see, this was my point about Roman Reigns being this intermediary champ to branch between the upcoming baby faces and Brock Lesnar right now. You know, up against the baby faces that were, or not even the baby faces, but the main event competitors that the WWE is trying to breed right now. The guys like Daniel Bryan, Dolph Ziggler, Bray Wyatt, Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns. Up against those guys, uh, Brock Lesnar is just he's in a different dimension than those guys. He could kill those guys. But okay, so Roman Reigns, let's just look into the future and we'll say that Roman Reigns goes over Brock Lesnar. Okay? Seth Rollins, they showed what would happen if Seth Rollins tries to cash in on Brock Lesnar. Everybody thought he had Brock Lesnar beat. Those two shots with the briefcase to the head,
Right.
Brock Lesnar was slow to get up, and you could hear the crowd. Everybody was like, "Oh, here comes the curb stomp on the briefcase. It's over." Brock Lesnar explodes up, F5s the shit out of Seth Rollins, match over. So that was the WWE's subtle hint at letting you know what would happen if Seth Rollins tries to cash in on Lesnar. If he tries to, Seth Rollins now has it subliminally planted in his head. If I try to cash in on Lesnar, it's not going to work. Now, fast forward to WrestleMania, post WrestleMania main event. Uh, Reigns goes over Lesnar. Now, here's where here's where all sorts of storyline possibilities open up. Now we have you can either have Reigns just cleanly go over, and there will be no cash in of the Money in the Bank at Mania. And then you can go on, and now we can set up either a one-on-one match between Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns for Extreme Rules, or we can have Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and another triple threat match, which I think between Seth Rollins and Daniel Bryan, I think they could put on a hell of a fucking match, and those two particular guys could help Reigns look really good. And even if if he made it all the way to the pay-per-view with the title, he could drop the title at Extreme Rules and he could still look awesome doing it. Now, it's like I said, if Reigns goes over, tons of possibilities open up because now we have a champion who's physically powerful, but he's beatable. So now, guys like Dolph Ziggler, guys like Dean Ambrose, guys like Bray Wyatt, Seth Rollins, they all have this guy who's at the top of the mountain, but he's a guy they can take down. And that's the big thing. With Brock Lesnar, you have a very finite pool of people who can beat him. But with Roman Reigns, the possibilities of a bunch more people beating him and opening up more main events possibilities for all these up and comers, it just explodes. The doors open wide if Reigns goes over. So yeah, it's going to suck because they're pushing him so hard right now. But if you look post WrestleMania at all the possibilities that are going to open up if Reigns goes over at Mania, then the pastures are going to look greener. Right now, yeah, it'll suck, but if you bear with it for this next month and a half, I guarantee you after WrestleMania, it'll start looking a lot better and brighter.
Hmm. Well, I mean, it's a very interesting time with the NXT guys making their move, with Sting
Right.
returning, with Brock possibly leaving. Um, I don't know, man. It's just like there's something. I don't know. I don't know like what what exactly it is, but I can't put my finger on it. But there's something about that main event at Mania that just doesn't really click as well. Like maybe if this was the heel Roman Reigns back like in the Shield when he didn't talk and stuff, yeah, it would have been a little more interesting because we wouldn't have had all those nursery rhymes to remember and all those horrible matches he had with Big Show. But I mean, I definitely see where you're coming from in terms of like where Lesnar stands, where Rollins stands, where Roman stands. But what are your thoughts on the IWC and all of their favorites being eliminated and pretty much them ranting on how they're pretty much giving us a John Cena 2.0 and possibly even worse in a guy who stutters his promos and takes nursery rhymes from Vince McMahon.
Well, you got to look at it this way. Roman Reigns is only doing what he's told. You know, uh, CM Punk even says that not very many people are going to challenge the boss. Randy Orton to a point will do it. John Cena will do it. But those other guys, what if Vince McMahon tells them to jump, they say how high.
Why do you
So
think that is though?
because he's the boss.
No, no, no.
If
Why do you
you
think people are afraid to stand up against them?
Well, because Vince McMahon has always been a stubborn bastard. He's always been that way.
But he's always loved people who stood up against him.
He has, but I mean, let's look at it this way. You work for a multi-million-dollar company. You've worked your entire life to get where you are. And, let's look at it realistically. Roman Reigns has only technically been on the main roster for about 2 years. If you have been working for this company, for this multi-million-dollar company for 2 years, are you going to go up and when the boss tells you, well, I've got this big promotion that you're going to do, and you're going to do it, are you going to tell him no? You're going to say, oh, well, thank you very much, sir. Yeah, I'll be happy. I'll get right on that.
Oh,
After
absolutely.
2 years, maybe if you were there for 10, 15 years, like freaking John Cena is, yeah, you could stand up to the boss and say, I don't know, maybe somebody else, maybe we can pass the buck on to somebody else. But if you've only been with 2 years, that guy is a freaking giant and you dare not stand up to him. And that's just the way, the business world is. And, the other thing is that because Vince McMahon has the final say on the product on television, you don't want to piss off, Vince McMahon because then all of a sudden, okay, what happens now? I pissed off Vince McMahon. Am I going to get written off TV? Am I not going to be able to, get all this promotion and stuff like that? Could my push just stop? Look at Chris Masters. Chris Masters was, or even Kennedy, Ken Kennedy.
Oh no, but
They
Ken Kennedy actually hurt Randy Orton during that match.
Well, he did hurt, and yeah, he did. fail a wellness check, but still, they were, even after all that, they were still trying to push the shit out of Ken Kennedy, but he couldn't keep his mouth shut. And he got in trouble, pissed off Vince McMahon, lost his job.
Is
Roman
that really the
Reigns
case? I
doesn't
heard
want to
that it
do
was
that.
because he hurt Orton.
No, it's not because he hurt Orton. He got hurt. Orton got hurt. Then it was just a snowball. He hurt Orton. He failed a wellness check, and when they were threatening to take some of his minutes off of TV, he back talked. He got snappy with people and was fired.
Hmm.
So but let's get back onto the IWC. Um, Smart Marks or Smarks, whatever, the IWC, Smart Marks, whatever. Um, do I believe? I believe in my heart of hearts that everybody could have seen it coming. Now, here's one thing that's confusing me. If Roman Reigns was to go over at last year's Rumble when he was only on the main roster for a year, nobody would have had a problem with it. But he goes over this year and everybody has a problem with it. That baffled the shit out of me. Roman Reigns was on the roster for less than a year, and when Batista eliminated him, everybody got on the internet and said, "Oh, this is fucking bullshit. I can't believe Batista eliminated Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns should have went over." Roman Reigns, fast forward a year, Roman Reigns goes over, "Oh, this is fucking bullshit. I can't believe Roman Reigns eliminated Rusev. Roman Reigns didn't deserve to win the Royal Rumble." The IWC, as honest as they are, they're also very fickle. They're very fair weather, and it's similar to when everybody pissed on Rey Mysterio because he wasn't Daniel Bryan. And
Hmm.
I love Daniel Bryan. I've practiced in the ring with Daniel Bryan. I knew him back when he was Bryan Danielson. I know the kid's a workhorse, and I know he's a really good kid and everything. I love the guy, and I'm glad to see him where he is right now. But at the same time, where fans are going to reject superstars being shoved down their throats, at the same time, you can't always give everybody what they want, because if you constantly give everybody what they want, and I've said this before to a bunch of people, I think the worst thing the WWE has ever done is basically allow the fans to take control of their product, and
Right.
that's what's happening. Triple H brought it up. Back in the day, you know, the finish at the Rumble would have went over and nobody would have questioned it. But now we have all the dirt sheets are out on the internet. We know more about the backstage aspect than we ever have before in life. Kayfabe is completely dead, and I think last year when the fan backlash and CM Punk leaving basically forced Daniel Bryan to pull double duty at WrestleMania, and everybody's saying, "Oh, well, it was because of the fans that Daniel Bryan made it to the main event at WrestleMania." That has placed an ill-advised sense of power into the heads of the fans that now we believe that we control what the WWE does. And when the WWE does something that you don't want them to do, then you backlash against it. And that's not right. And it's not fair to the company or to us. If you look at an indie promotion, the indie promoters, they put over who they're going to put over, whether you like them or not. You could have a guy who worked ECW come in. If he goes over, if he doesn't go over, if he does the job, nobody questions it. But if you look onto the bigger scale with the WWE, the guy you don't want to win wins, then you get pissed off. The guy you want to win doesn't win, you get pissed off and you backlash and you complain about it. And I don't know, like I kind of consider myself part of the internet wrestling community, but I think because I've been a booker, because I've been in the ring and I know how the business works, I guess it just doesn't piss me off that badly. Granted, yeah, the WWE has pissed me off before. I stopped watching for a while because I was so frustrated with the product. Um, but I really think that the IWC really needs to dial down. You know, what's the term? I think everybody needs to quit being an armchair booker. I think that's what the thing is. Yeah, I don't think everybody thinks that just because they watch it that they can book a better product.
Right.
And I don't think that's the case. We all need to quit being armchair bookers and try to enjoy the product instead of constantly nitpicking and picking things apart. Now, back to the main focus of everything, let me be perfectly clear. Do I believe that Roman Reigns is being pushed too early? Yes. Do I believe that him going to face Brock Lesnar at Mania was predictable? Yes. But in the words of JR, sometimes predictable is okay because predictable will get you where you need to go.
Right. Well, very, very interesting discussion nonetheless. Very, very, I mean, because we're so used to talking about other things that this has been a very, very interesting subject to talk about. But like you said, I mean, let's see what happens in the next month and a half, 2 months, because I mean, it's very critical right now because we don't know what's
Right.
going on with certain people. And yeah, like you said, like fans are pretty much in charge in an essence
Yeah.
because
They
they're the ones that.
control the product, and that's not good.
Well, let's just see what happens. But let us know what you guys think in the comment section below about the whole situation. Do you guys think that Roman Reigns should be allowed to go to WrestleMania and partake in a match with Brock Lesnar, or do you guys think they ought to switch it up a little bit? Let us know what you guys think. Thank you all for watching
Well,
once again.
hold on, really quick before we cut this off. I'm going to ask you, and I want the people to comment because I'm going to tell you what I think, and then I want you to tell me what you think. What are your predictions for our up and coming main eventers this year? The guys like Dean Ambrose, Bray Wyatt, Dolph Ziggler. What do you
Um,
think is going to happen with these guys this year?
well, I think Bray is gonna get a rub and he's gonna have a match with Taker. Now, depending on whether or not he wins or loses, it doesn't really matter because he's in there with one of the greatest wrestlers that ever graced a professional wrestling ring. And I think that's all he really needs as of right now to move on forward with whatever he wants to do. So I think Bray Wyatt is definitely going to be a main eventer this year because there's something about him that I feel like is going
Oh,
to be
he's amazing.
utilized.
He's
So
got he's got charisma for
no,
days.
he has fucking tons of charisma, and I think Bray Wyatt to me is
He'll
a
be the top
perfect.
heel this year.
Oh yeah, definitely,
That's
definitely.
my prediction is that once Lesnar leaves and they move Bray into the main event, Bray is going to be the top heel this year if they don't turn Reigns into a heel.
Definitely, and I think Bray Wyatt is somebody that people need to keep an eye out more on because his in-ring work is great. It's different, you know.
Right.
His character is just he's it's amazing. It's fucking it's pure awesomeness. So I think Bray Wyatt is definitely one of them. Um,
You
I
think
think
Ziggler will be moved into the world title hunt?
honestly this year, no.
You don't
And
think
the only
Ziggler's
reason
gonna?
why I say that is because I feel as if Dolph Ziggler is gonna go heel, maybe. Given on the situation with, I mean, they could build a very predicate story with him and Bryan at WrestleMania.
Oh, that match is gonna be off the hook,
Oh
dude.
yeah, it'll definitely remind me of
I
Steamboat.
really think that if they are going to go forward with Bryan Ziggler, that they're going to throw the wrinkle in it that the winner becomes the number one contender.
Mm,
I think that would be awesome because if you're looking at it right now, they're both faces. So if they both come together, they're going to be like, oh, well, it'll be a friendly match. We're going to go out there and steal the show. But that's when the authority steps in and says, well, we can't have you guys just going out there and having doing this thing for fun. So your guys' match at WrestleMania will now be for the number one contendership. Whoever wins goes on to face the winner of Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. So now they've got it planted in their head. Now they have to be extra competitive with each other. Now they have a reason for one or the other to go on instead of just, well, let's have a friendly match and whoever wins, wins. Now, well, okay, now there's a shot at the title going on.
right.
So, but I honestly think Ziggler, Bryan, uh, more than 75% has a chance to steal the show at Mania. It's going to be
Oh,
fantastic.
absolutely. And I feel as if I don't know. Dean Ambrose, I would much rather see him go full blown heel and have Rollins become a
I
face.
could see that. I think I really don't know if Dean Ambrose is going to make it. He's probably going to be upper mid card. I really don't see him going for the top title this year. They're setting this thing up with him and Bad News Barrett. I just hope they don't, stick the IC title on him like they did the US title and he defends it twice in a year. They really need to bring some credibility back to those mid card titles.
No, you're right. You're right.
I think one or the other need to go. I don't think we need two mid card titles right now. I mean, granted, we did get away with it for the longest time with the European title and then the Intercontinental title. But I mean, if they really want those things to mean something, then they need to book them more strongly. They shouldn't do like what they're doing with Bad News Barrett. Bad News Barrett wins the title and then he loses his next three matches that are non-title. What kind of fucking bullshit booking is that? Um, but yeah, my prediction, I think Daniel Bryan is definitely probably going to stay in the main event picture for the better part of this year.
Oh, definitely.
I think they're relegating kind of John Cena to take a step back out of the spotlight and try to be like maybe upper mid card. I personally don't think he needs the victory over Rusev. I really think that could have gone to a up and comer instead of having Rusev's first loss be to John Cena because we all know it's coming. Um, I really think that if Rusev adds some more, if he adds more to his repertoire instead of these big kicks and the accolade, and just his basically his strikes, I think he needs to add more to his personal arsenal. If he does that, I think he's going to go and be a top heel. I think he'll do really, really well. Like I said, I think Dean Ambrose will probably be mid card to upper mid card. I really don't see him making it to the main event unless they swerve us. Bray Wyatt will definitely be a top heel this year, if not the top heel. And I do see him making a run for the world title this year. I could really, really see that.
Well, I mean,
Um,
we have a long way to go as well.
we do have a long way to go, but I think that I personally think that by SummerSlam, uh, we're going to see a Bray Wyatt run for the world title. I'm pretty sure that by SummerSlam, Bray Wyatt will be trying to compete for the world title. If indeed he is having this match against the Taker, which is what they're, I mean, all the hints they're dropping left and right is that it's going to be against the Undertaker, and this
Yep.
is going to be sort of like Undertaker's passing of the torch and making Bray Wyatt the new face of darkness. Like Undertaker's always been the face of darkness, and I think that they're really if they do put it on Bray Wyatt, I think they have made an excellent decision because that guy is phenomenal. I love watching Bray Wyatt in the ring, and I love it when he gets on the mic. His talking, his promos are freaking magical.
No, absolutely. I don't doubt you one bit on that one. But let us know what you guys think in the comment section below about what you guys think is going to happen in the following year to come, SummerSlam, WrestleMania. Let us know in the comment section below, guys. Thank you all for watching once again. Stay tuned for more, and we hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll be seeing you all later. Everybody, take it easy. Peace.